PowerApps fails all the time, but most apps pretend like it doesn't. That's right, I said what I said. What we see all the time in PowerApps is basically most people have somewhere between none and 0 when it comes to error handling. So this is going to kick off a series of videos where we're going to go through different ways to capture errors in your PowerApps and actually handle them instead of ignoring them, right? Which is what we all do, right? I'm just as guilty as you. No judgment here. So today we're going to jump into the IfError function and how it can help us, especially when we're doing things like patch. So if that sounds like fun, then let's switch to my desktop and take a look. To get us going here, I went ahead and made a very simple app, right? There's a bunch of controls, right? There's no wiring in or anything yet. And over here under data sources, I just added a simple SharePoint list. Everything we're going to do would be applicable whether you're using SharePoint, Dataverse, SQL, you name the data source, or it doesn't even have to be tied to the data source. This would also work like with flows, any of that. And so what we want to show is the IfError function. IfError gives you a chance to do something like take an action like patch, and then if you get an error, then do something else. If you don't get an error, do something else, right? Very if-like. So let's give it a go right here. So if we jump down here and we were to say, all right, we got this little mini form, right? This is not a form, just individual controls. And so we're going to say something like, I want to do a patch on this. We'll say, right, patch employees, default employees. We're just trying to create a new record. And then title will be whatever's in the input title. First name will be in first name. Age is in there. And then we'll go down here at the bottom, and then we will say navigate. And then we'll just jump over to good old another screen. I know, very complicated app, right? So this is a pattern though that we all have hundreds, thousands of times. Now in this particular case, title is a required field. But if we hit play, right, there's nothing saying it's required. There's nothing enforcing it's required. So your users are like, oh, I don't feel like putting in a title today. And they hit save. Now when they hit save, notice that it jumped us straight to another screen, right? Went to the other screen. Now we did get a little light pink field title is required up here. But two things, right? One is, I don't know how, but like 99% of the time users ignore that message altogether, right? They're like, I didn't see an error message. I'm like, how is that possible? But I am told often users don't see those. Secondly, it still powered through, right? It went to this other screen. But if we were to jump over to SharePoint real quick, right down here at the bottom of the employees list, there's no record. So it didn't do it. It kind of told us for a second and it took us to our screen. So I'm just going to continue, right? Like this is what gets people in so much trouble. But like if we went back over here, right? From a user perspective, I don't see anything. And worse yet, if the user perspective, if on visible the screen, you reset all these controls back to blank, they'd be really angry, right? It's really the only place you'd see it now is if, you know, in the editor experience, if I go into here, now I could be like, edit the formula bar, go hover, field title is required, right? Like that's not a user experience. So this is where we introduce IfError. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take our happy-go-lucky working one here. I'm going to jump to the end. I'm going to kind of break it and fix it so that way the error message goes away. Didn't have to do that, but the error message was bothering me. And so we're just going to type in IfError. So with IfError, the first part of the IfError is the thing that you want to try to do, right? So we want to do our patch. So I've got my patch up here. Get rid of the semicolon. And then we're going to do a comma. And we'll hit enter to go to another line. And so then the comma is what to do if it fails, if there is an error message. And so, for example, what we could do here is we could just say notify and then say, you had an error, and then do that. And then if we said, okay, right, that would then pop it up. You know what we'll actually do is we'll even make it pink, right? So we'll do the notification type of error. Okay. So then that would go up there at the top. And then we could do another comma, and then that says, hey, if it didn't error, so if it was successful, then navigate to our other screen. Okay, so took what we had there and we basically just wrapped it in an IfError and added a notification. So now if we hit play, if we don't put in a title and we hit save, we're going to see you had an error. Okay, and it didn't navigate away though. That's one main difference. Now, but if we do put in a title, you know, hi mom, and then we go ahead and say save, now it works the same way it always did, right? It did the patch and then it jumped over to the next screen. And if we go check our SharePoint list now, right down there at the bottom, hi mom, boom. Okay. So IfError isn't overly complicated. I can tell you that I don't even think I've named on one hand how many times I've seen people actually had this in their apps. But in reality, all of our error state or all of our patch type of activity like that, any type of chance where we could have an error, so patches, flows, those type of things, if error would be fabulous to put in there because it's going to give you a mechanism to deal with the error. And you could stack these up, right? So we could have if error patch that, notify that one errored, and then we could have another patch statement, and then we have another notify if that one failed, right? We could stack these things if we want, right? We don't want to get into all that today, but we could make this as robust as we need. Okay, I feel bad. We are going to do it. Well, let's just go one step further, right? So we've currently got this. So then now what I want to do is I'll just go here, right? And so this would be the, if it didn't fail, we'll just do a different patch. And so we'll say defaults employees again. All right, so I finished out my patch. Notice I forgot title, but we're going to say, hey, so right, if it was successful, do this patch. If that one fails, then say notify patch 2 failed. And if both of them are successful, then we would navigate to the other screen. So if we hit play, patch 1 should be successful because we have hi mom there. So let's go ahead and hit save. There you go. There's the message. Patch 2 failed. And the whole reason patch 2 failed, right, is because we didn't give it a title. But if we go back and then we edit our friend again, then what we might do here is just go put it in a title real quick. So we'll just say title dad. Now, he doesn't get enough love in my little videos. But then now if we hit play, right, so patch 1 should be successful because that was filled out. The second one's hard-coded dad, so it should take us to screen 3. So let's hit save. Right, it takes it a second and bingo, bango, we've got that, okay? So that's how you would stack multiple, right? I wasn't going to show you, but I felt bad, so we showed you, okay? So you could have as many of those in here as you want. And this is very important, especially when like one patch depends on another, right? Like we want to make sure that we're, maybe we're patching a parent-child data relationship. And so we need if error to be like, hey, if the parent patch failed, you can't patch the children because there's no parent to connect them to, right? Like there's a lot of scenarios where you want to be careful with this. Now there is a weird little nuance here I want to show you guys real quick. So if you were to take the hi mom, right? So we know that was working, now it's not, right? Or it is, right? But so we know if we go in here and clear it out, and if we hit save, right, we'd expect this to fail because it would be blank. So if you do this, it's actually going to be successful. Go back. Why? The reason for that is because now it's basically passing a blank string. So it is there, and so title is happy because it's a blank string because we had one in there and we deleted it. Like, it's a weird way PowerApps controls work. So in order to test this, or if that causes confusion for you while you're working on it, what you want to do is just grab a button here and then just be like, hey, you reset input title, right? So that will put it back to actually blank instead of kind of the blank string, which sounds weird, but don't overthink it. But so now this would be a way to do it, right? So actually here, let's type some stuff in there. There you go, put some stuff back in there. Now if we reset it, now if we hit save, now we get an error, right? So this is one of those things where when you're testing and building, it's confusing. Like your users, you're just trying to avoid blank stuff. Like you don't have to think about it as much, but I didn't want you to be testing hey, this works, it doesn't work, and get all confused. So that's why I wanted you to see that. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, remember this stuff comes from my training classes, right? So if you ever need training, right, whether it's intro stuff all the way up to advanced 401 stuff, or maybe AI stuff or Power BI stuff, right? We've got all of it over at training.powerapps911.com. So go check it out and join me with one of my live training classes, and you too could learn this firsthand. All right, back to the video. Anyway, the last thing I want to mention about this, as you're thinking about this particular scenario, remember you can do validation, right? So you could be hey, let's just not let them click save if that field is blank, and we would have to capture this error. Not a terrible idea. So I'll put a link up there, a really old validation video. And then I'll probably, as part of this series, make a new one on validation, and I'll put the link back up there. But anyway, just keep that in mind. There are ways to avoid this, to truly make it required so that the save button would just be disabled until this field got filled out. So you would never have this particular error, but that's not the point. The point of this is if error to capture those errors. Now, speaking of capturing the errors, I also want to go another step with that, right? So if we go back here to our save button, and let's dumb this thing back down. Let's get rid of all the extra here, right? Get rid of that, put our little comma back. Okay, so just the one. But so another thing to know is that you can have a little bit of insight into what happened here, right? So for the error message right now, we're just being hey, you had an error. which is not super helpful. So what you could say is you had an error, and then maybe we'll go right here, right? We're just gonna use our string techniques, and we'll be like ampersand. I don't know why there's 2 spaces there. And so then here you're going to have the ability to use the function called errors. So you do the errors and you give it a data source like employees, that returns a table of all the errors, right? We don't want all the errors though. So I'm gonna go back out in front of this and do first errors, right? So then that would give you the first error, and then you're gonna do a dot. And so then here you have column, message, error, and record. So these are the different things that are available to you. And so what you most likely want here is message. So then now it would say you had an error, we'll put a colon there, and then we're going to see the actual error. So if we hit play and we press save, you had an error, field title is required. So you can write more intelligent error messages. Or in later videos, when we talk about logging these error messages, right, you probably want to log the actual error message that happened, right, not just they got an error. So keep that in mind. Errors, your data source, and then first will always be that first error that it got, and then dot message. And it gets reset, the next time you do a patch successful, then the errors would be empty, so there wouldn't be any errors anymore. And then if you did something else to make it angry, then that error would show back up. So keep that in mind as well, right? Because you kind of need to think through how you're using that table. But yeah, you have all of those available. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here with the whole notification concept is, we said before, the whole little pink pop-up is kind of terrible. Users somehow manage never to see it. I don't know, but they do. So what I might do is go back here now and create myself a real error pop-up, right? So I'd probably go here, I would insert a container, right? So we'll put a full container in here. We'll stretch it over the whole screen, like so and so. I would then set the fill property to be 169.169.169.75, right? So 169.169.169 is the color you should memorize. That is gray. And then the A portion of this, the 0.75, that's the amount of transparency, right? So that gives you that grayed out effect. If I change this to 0.15, right, you can't even tell it's there. If I change it to 0.95, it's almost too dark, right? So you do what you want there, but that's what I like to use for the fill. And so then making sure I'm in the container, I would then insert a label, and then I'll kind of take it, right? We're not going to get into design, but you could make this look much nicer. Maybe I'll go ahead and change the fill color to that to be red, right? This is a bad thing that happened. And then we'll say the font color is going to be white. And then we'll go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. So we'll go to 32 and then center it. And so then for the text here, right, then you would just do that same things. You got the error ampersand first, right? You got the error field titles required. So then that way you could make that very front and center. And so now that we have this in an error container, now what we will do is go here and change the visible property for the whole container to be something like var show error, like that. It doesn't exist, so it's angry. But then now I would go down here and say, all right, click out, click back, there we go. And so instead of the notify section here, right, we know that they're ignoring that, we would just say, set var show error, comma, true, bingo, bango. And so then now if they do a bad patch, boop, they get that. And then, oops, you know what I forgot? So then back in my container, we need a way to close that. So we'll just do a little cancel icon real quick. And then we'll throw that kind of over here. We'll change its color to white, even though you probably could have figured that out on your own. And then now for that, we would just say, hey, you set var show error to false. All right, so now if we patch, we get the error. And then more importantly, we can close it and kind of go back and fix it. So you could give them whatever instructions you want there. Maybe it would be a detailed error message. Maybe you get real fancy. We won't do this one. But maybe what you want to do there is you'd have some type of if. You'd say, hey, if first error's employee said or contained the word title, so it failed around title, then spit this message out. If it said, something about network, then spit this message out, right? So you could, all your PowerApps skills come into play here to build a nicer, cleaner experience, right? Because what you really want is if your users are getting error, they're mad, they're frustrated, they're annoyed. You want to be as gentle and as helpful as possible as you build out your experience. All right, so that gives you some ideas. Other things to keep in mind, like in the later series, I think in the next video, probably the next video, we'll go ahead and we're going to talk about there is a function called first error, but it doesn't always show up. So we're going to explain the nuance there. We're going to explain how to work with on error. So we're going to kind of look at next time how to catch all the errors instead of this one is really only catching errors around this one patch, right? So there's a way to do it at a more global scale. And so that'll be next time, and that'll be part of the series, right? So I'm making a little playlist of just error handling videos, and so that'll be video 2. So hopefully you'll check that one out as soon as I get it released. Other than that, I would say questions, comments, anything I can do for you. Remember, these types of videos, they come from 2 places, right? The questions and comments that you ask me, and also from my training classes. This was actually a lesson I taught in my training class this past week, and I thought we would take and make a smaller version of what we learned in the training class for you guys. So there you go. I guess with that, I'm just going to say thanks and have a great day.